work-life balance. There are a few interesting things that I came across when I started thinking about what should I say. And of course, I think the best place to start in today's world is to look at some metrics. These are not comprehensive, they're not specific to Kenya or the lawyers, specifically, not all of them, but I do believe that they serve to illustrate the points that I wish to make. So the first metric that I have is from a study that was done called the 360 Degrees Global Wellbeing Survey, the Kenya report. So this is now specific to Kenya. And one of the things that I noticed is that the burnout rates for Kenya are probably the highest in the world. And this is Kenyans across the board. So we are at 95%. So anybody in the workforce in Kenya has at one point or the other felt a burnout rate. Why do I say everybody? Because if I was to say 1 out of 10, we would be at 90%, and there are no half people. So I was taught that trying to understand statistics means that if it's a person, it has to be a whole person. Obviously, we could look at 1 out of 20 people. They have had burnout at one point or the other. And why is it important for us to think about this? What it means is that every single person on this platform, every single person you know who is in the workforce has felt burnout at one point or another. The other interesting statistic that I came across also from this report is that Kenyan respondents felt constantly connected to work. And very soon, I will be introducing this term that I came across. Those of you who are on the gram, on IG, or the, I think we call, yes, I think we call it IG or the gram, we have come across this. Is this term called stress laxing? You know, that's the point when you are so stressed, when you're trying to relax because you're not working on what is making you stressed. I believe if you, well, all of us studied in law school, so we did come across this in Law 101, the very first unit that you attended. You were told, follow your heart, but take your law books with you. And we have held that mantra, and we believe that we need to be reading 110% of the time. And it doesn't get any better. As a student, you are looking at your lecture notes and you moved on, you graduated, and then you got into the workspace. And the next thing was you have to learn how to draft these pleadings, these affidavits. You need to be on top of your work and ahead of it if possible. And then, of course, you were introduced to this very special thing in legal practice, which we call billing hours. So your time is valuable. It must be productive. So when you are relaxing, you're asking or you're feeling that I'm losing out on something. I'm losing out on money. I'm losing out on being productive. I'm losing out on my goals. So stress laxing is something that is very, very, very real for each and every one of us. And it doesn't always come across as burnout, but if you go on like the Energizer Bunny, at one point or one day, you will get to the place where you feel you are burnt out. And burnt out is not just exhaustion. Being burnt out is the exhaustion where you are incapable of being able to be productive. So it is very counterproductive to what the goals that we are all set out to do. Usually to be the highest earning partner or the highest grossing associate. So it is important that we think about it. It is a condition that is recognized by the World Health Organization. So just like COVID and all the other conditions that we have experienced recently, it's something that you need to look into. So I think because I have explained burnout, stress laxing, and the condition of being that advocate who is productive all the time, I think one of the things I need to jump into is to look at time management. Now, there are 3 key time management approaches that can help each and every advocate, regardless of whether you're a young counsel, regardless of whether you're in the mid-bar or senior counsel. And what you find is that the first thing you need to do is set boundaries. This is easier said than done. You need to set boundaries and manage expectations. It's a self-discipline to know when you can say no to that client who calls at 10 p.m. I have been arrested by, I have this challenge and this case, and Wakili, a moment. I think we have all gone through this at one point or another. So the self-discipline to say no is something that you need to ask yourself. How do I develop it? When do I apply it? Whom do I apply it to? Of course, many of the people we need to say no to may be our employers. They may be the person who is paying you, and you also need to know how to manage how to say no. There is a polite way of saying it. If it is at the end of the day, just tell the person who's asking you to do that extra overtime, thank you. I understand, or I appreciate what you're asking me. I will get onto it first thing in the morning, or I will look at it at a particular time, and you manage the expectations. And sometimes it's good to give yourself a good lead time because of presenting the wow factor, so that if you deliver before the time you had said, everybody is like, oh, wow. So think about your limits, think about your what is committed to your time. Also think about your family. There's a study that was done recently, and the way we used to say that if you wanted to have dinner with one person living, or even who has gone ahead of us, who would you like that to be? Most of us would say Martin Luther King, or one of those celebrities. Today's children, and if you're a parent, please take note of this. Today's children are just saying, I wish I would have dinner with my parents. So I think that is a wake-up call to each and every one of us. So how do you undertake time management? Know yourself. Take a time audit. There's a matrix that you can use. Matrices just mean that you need to put things into those 4 boxes. Important and urgent, important, not urgent, urgent, not important, and not urgent, not important. We spend a lot of time just talking about this to train ourselves how to do this. It's so unfortunate that I'm not able to even demonstrate to you. So I'll use another technique to demonstrate or to give you an idea of how you can get things going. When you're working, there's this technique. It was developed by, I think it's called Charles Lecu, witty Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro just really means tomato. It's easy to remember. So it just means chunk time into 25 minutes intervals and then take a 5-minute break. Sort of what I'm doing right now, I'll talk to you for about 10 minutes and I'll take a break, listen to the other presenters, and then that will be able to manage myself. I'll be able to accomplish a few things. If you're a procrastinator, and all of us at one point or another have procrastinated or felt tempted to procrastinate, use a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 method. It just means that when it's time to do something or change gears or shift gears, or you're running in a meeting and it's running late and you're told them I have a hard stop, just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just tell yourself, okay, this is it. This is what I'd decided to do. Get up and get going. If you achieve what you had set out to do, what you had targeted to do, also reward yourself. Reward yourself also means knowing yourself, what makes you feel happy. Try not to go onto social media because that tends to take us in the wrong direction. But please take a moment to just pat yourself on the back. The other key strategy that works for us as advocates is delegating and collaborating. 2 rules. The first one, clearly define your expectations. Let the person you are delegating to know what result you are expecting them to achieve, and then let them do it. Don't hover over their shoulders. Just tell them, I just want that result. And then the other thing is, when you've given the expectation, the other thing is set the deadline. And when it has been achieved, then please make sure that you give them feedback. Give feedback even if that feedback is not, how do you call it, the most positive, but give feedback in a positive way. So you can always positively critique somebody if they do not achieve what you had wanted them to do, and also give yourself some lead time so that you can be able to step in and fill the gap in the event this should become necessary. So I hope that these three strategies, there are very many out there, do some reading, you will come out and encounter them at one point or another. But these are some of the easiest to remember and to apply in your day-to-day activities. Now, I've been able to apply all this. Yes, there are many times that you have many things that you need to deliver on with set timelines. In my office, with CIAB, with ICS also, learn how to work with the people who are in the same space with you and have a clear designated outcome so that when we achieve, we all achieve and we are happy together as a team. Obviously, if things don't work out the way you had wanted them to go to, take full responsibility and rectify so that next time everybody appreciates you as a leader, and everybody is a leader in whichever space that they find themselves. So now, I've spoken about some of the spaces that I find myself in. So I think it's also important for every single advocate to think about the policies and the procedure. And I have deliberately looked at this from starting with culture, because culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's important to understand what are the written procedures and policies. Look for what are the working hours. Are there any I think we call it flexi time or flexible working hours? Is there overtime? Are there any remote work options? I think this is something that is creeping up quickly. It ties in with, I think we're looking at also moving into the space of 4-day working weeks. Okay, we're not yet there, but some jurisdictions have put it in place. And this really is the future of work. And look at also how to leverage technology. Technology is a double-edged sword. Technology means you can be found or you can be traced or tracked down at any particular point in time. So remember, rule number one, know how to set boundaries and manage expectations. So with technology, it can help you. It can also make things that much tougher. Please, I think we've been listening to Linda Bonyo speaking to us for the last 3 years about tech. We're all going digital, so everything is going in that direction. Make sure you learn one new thing in tech. I want to repeat that. Make sure you learn one new thing in tech every single day. We are getting into a space and a time when generative AI is going to take over everything, and it will make and create very many opportunities for those who are AI and tech savvy. If you don't get on that bandwagon, you're going to be left behind, and it may not be possible for you to catch up. So please learn one new thing every day. It can make the difference on how you are going to be marketable in the next couple of years. And then when you speak marketing, I'll speak networking and exploration. Connect with other legal professionals. Please connect with other professions as well. Look at alternative legal rules. In my career, I have been, of course, an advocate. I have been a litigator, but I have also had opportunities to work as an in-house counsel. I've worked with NGOs, and they have different focuses. You learn different things, and they give you a feel, an idea of where your lifestyle meets the workplace and how you can then be able to get the best out of your profession. Hang your own shingle at any one time. Everybody must do this. At one time, hang your own shingle. Put up, you can see Mhoho here. You can see Anthony, even if it's Anthony and Company Advocates. Give it a shot. You might not appreciate it now, but this is one of the biggest ways that you can take control over your diary and over your time. When you have taken control over your diary and your time, think self-care, negotiate your terms, and then also, once you have negotiated your terms, also assess your well-being. What does your well-being mean? Go to the gym, please. Think about the Friday and Saturday night outs. I think have all passed through that season where we must meet up with our friends, we must hang, we must party, we must enjoy the fruits of our labor. Don't overdo it, because there are those of us who have lost that battle. I think the earliest classmate we lost was because of addiction to alcohol. And it was very sad. We were still very young, and that was such a loss, not only to his family, but to the profession and the country at large. So let me speak to young lawyers and associates for one moment. Probably what Charles Owiti did not tell you is that I am a mother of adult. I used to like calling them adult teens, but one of them has already gotten out of that space, and she's an adult. I'm almost giving her the key. She's an LLB. And these are some of the things that you can expect. And I would tie this in with a principle that I think we all have come across in one way or another in our lives. And this is the law, and I'll call it a law, the law of times and seasons. There was a time when you were an LLB student. There is going to be a time when you are going to be a young advocate and an associate. That season will have long and demanding hours for the simple reason that you have a steep learning curve, and you are learning on the go. It will mean that you have a high workload and a lot of pressure because you're learning quickly to catch up with the world of your workplace. You have limited autonomy. That is a fact of being a young lawyer and a young associate. You're under the guidance of your employers, and the limited autonomy eventually evaporates as you acquire your skills. Accept the feedback, accept the critique, understand that there's always going to be workplace politics, and yes, the day you join, you're still a new employee, and the clerks and the secretaries will probably have more political capital than you when you join. You do not have all the training and mentorship that you ought to have. And here, I'm not just speaking about being a lawyer. You're an advocate of the High Court. There's wakili. Yes, you have the title, but there are other soft skills that you require to appreciate and understand. You need to learn how to deal with the management. You need to know how to deal with clients. Of course, at some point, you may have some job insecurity, the ethical dilemmas. You want to progress. There's new technology, there are new platforms, new apps that you need to do with your that relate to your work. Learn them. Learn them. I was fortunate. The firm that I walked into had a time. I think, we needed to leave work at 4 p.m. 4:30 p.m. the doors were locked, so you had to leave. There was no question about it. Whether you're a young advocate or whether you were mid-level, even the partners had to leave at 4:30. So there was some semblance of a work-life balance and the question of stress and mental health. If you don't take care of your health, it may not show up in the first 3 years. It will catch up to you if you're not careful. So the law has recognized this. I think that's the next slide I have. This is the Employment Amendment Bill pending before Senate since 2022. It just means that you are allowed to disconnect from the time when you leave work until you resume. And if you don't answer to emails and text messages outside of regular working hours, then you will not be penalized. Of course, some of you are employers, so you may wish to consider about thinking how you are going to adapt. It's coming. It has gone to many of the other different countries in Europe, UK. I think the US has also, some states have adopted it, if not the entire country. So you will need to engage your stakeholders, educate staff, look at technology, and also revise your policies and procedures. Who are the stakeholders? Your stakeholders are your clients and your suppliers. So very quickly, I really wish I had time to go through all this, but it is what it is. There are 3 books I would want to recommend. The first one is Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. I think she's one of the early CEOs, women, so she gives a good perspective for the women. We have some different dynamics that are not always applicable to our brothers. So read this book. It's actually inspiring. She shares very many useful anecdotes, so please read the book. There's also Timothy Ferris, who talks about the 4-hour work week. Initially, it started out as a thing, and this is out of COVID when we resumed. So 4 out of 7 days, that's almost half the week. It has now caught on. There are some countries who have, but through legislation, adopted a 4-hour work week, 4-day also work week. How do you achieve this? When can you achieve this? The thing is, can you escape the 9 to 5? Of course, for us, that's 8 to 5. This is one of the strategies of being able to work anywhere. And please, it's time we acknowledge that we are living on a global level. You're competing with lawyers from across other jurisdictions. We may not have adopted it in practice, even though by law, by the way, we have. So it is important to appreciate how you can accomplish this. People in STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, people in those lines have already adopted it. And so long as you're producing and you are delivering, then I think you can find some useful tips, particularly if you want to look at alternatives to practice and being an in-house lawyer and government. Now, my experience as an in-house lawyer is that while you're told that you spend less time on the work beat, the truth is in-house counsel, government, as long as you're working in government, you actually end up spending more time than if you were on the court beat, especially now that we have introduced online court. Also look at off balance, just looking at the work-life myth. Now, I don't want to upstage one of my fellow panelists, but off balance can just mean that you're in that season of your life where you're an advocate, young counsel, and you are spending as much time as you can to get to your 10,000 hours. What's the magic about the 10,000 hours? It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in any field. So look at this, see how it works with your personal life and your professional life as well. So like I said, there's a time and a season for everything. I think that's the next slide. I won't belabor that point. I've also mentioned some of the action steps that you can take. Develop your skills and gain experience. There's no shortcut around this one. You're going to have to do the grunt work at the beginning, but eventually you will be able to take time out. How do you do this? Mentorship and network. Now, there are very many, I think there are 2 different approaches to mentorship. I think we do mentorship in pupillage. It is not always sufficient. So look for at least 1 or 2 mentors, and look for a mentor who has a little bit more experience than you. And also, if you want to get the full benefit of mentorship, please never ever lose the opportunity to mentor someone. That is how you know you have learned. So as a young advocate, it may not seem like you have anything to give to another person. You're wrong. There are law students who are looking up at you and thinking, when I grow up, I want to be like that advocate who I just see passing by our home, that person who was in my school and has now achieved that title of wakili. So please, always take that opportunity to mentor someone, engage in professional development. Why do I say this? It is a fact that the minute that we graduate, we all start the journey to becoming functionally illiterate. So how do you stem this? By engaging in professional development. Please take the next step, take the steps in moving forward. I think I've mentioned about self-care, mental and physical. Embrace technology. I cannot overemphasize about embracing technology. We are just on the cusp of a completely new paradigm. Please understand what is going on around you. How do you do this? Set boundaries, manage expectations, delegate where you can, and utilize the legal associations. Of course, there are also similar steps that can be taken by those who are employers. Please utilize legal associations, because that is where we all meet, where we share our experiences and where we can learn best practice and also be able to take the next steps that will take us to where we are all aiming to be. Each one of us has goals. We are different spaces, different timelines, but we all have goals, and I think we all want to achieve them. So in a nutshell, that was a presentation I prepared for you. I'll be happy to take any questions, should there be any. Thank you. Mr. Witty, over to
Thank
you.
you very much, Jackie. We appreciate that. And members